Before we get started, Scott, I must congratulate you because uh, we worked together on European side with your colleagues here, and you worked together with our friends from What They Think on
Right.
the Spring Forward event. It must have been amazing to go out and visit customers. I know you do that all the time, but I mean to put that on camera and show some of the applications that is done using Tecnau equipment. How was it for you?
Yeah, it was great, Morton. I really enjoyed it. It was I actually don't get out to customers enough, so it was a great excuse to go out and see four customers, on the leading edge of our equipment who are doing exciting things and interesting things, both with our equipment and of course with the latest in digital presses. So a lot of fun.
I can tell you one of the things I said to Mauricio was that when I had the pleasure of doing your European side and met four of your colleagues in Europe, and I think it's amazing to see because the people from Tecno, you know so much about the equipment and you're so dedicated to your solutions. So it's always a pleasure of working with you because it's not just like I'm not saying that anybody is superficial and doesn't know anything, but it's just like there's gradients of how much you know, and you guys, you know
Yeah,
a
yeah,
lot.
yeah. Well, sometimes I think we need to get a life, Morton. I don't know. When I'm thinking about feeding and finishing on my weekend, I think there's a problem there, possibly.
Oh yeah, but it's that is what drives us, right? It's a passion for what we
Right,
do. Yeah, I think you
right,
can find industries where you can make more money if that was the only driver, right?
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
It's probably true.
yeah. So
Yeah,
Scott, if you take it just before we go and talk about products and your solutions. How is the market in the US? Are you have a backlog from the COVID, or are you having
yeah.
difficulties because of the inflations? I mean, what balance is it?
Well, certainly, inflation is causing problems and supply chain issues are causing some problems, but we're doing okay. Certainly from the supply standpoint. We're getting parts in. We're able to ship. We've been able to take advantages of frankly doing pretty well on the supply side to grab some opportunities we might not have otherwise had. So that's been great, and demand has been very strong. We're seeing a lot of demand out there. A lot of customers, yeah, kind of catching up, I guess, after COVID and doing things that maybe they'd have done a year ago if not for COVID. And all of a sudden, we're getting a high demand for business now. So very exciting.
And I can't help think about that when you and I met the first time was also, I think it was in the Spring Forward event last year, and that was just in
Yep.
the tail of the introduction of the Revolution 50 series, right? So I take
Right.
that also it's nice to get out with such, I mean, um, leap forward in technology as I understand the Revolution 50 series is. Can you tell us a little bit in general terms what is the Revolution 50 relating to what you
Yep.
did before?
Yeah, absolutely. So Revolution 50 is our new cut stack family that we came out with. Or actually, I should narrow it that much. It has been our new cut stack. We're kind of expanding the line to other items. But really where we started was with the new cut stack series, which was really kind of a recognition that the industry was the printing technology was really evolving, um, making new applications possible, broadening the scope of what they could do in a graphic arts setting. Um, so with that kind of demand for using, coated papers, more challenging, heavyweight papers, lightweight papers, all of that, of course, places demand on finishing, and of course, higher speeds. With these latest presses coming out with higher and higher speeds, it really became apparent to us, some time ago that we needed to move on, that our cut stack line just wasn't good enough to serve the demands of the most demanding customers, the most demanding applications. So that's what Revolution 50 is about, is being able to handle high speeds, demanding papers, really to operate in a demanding graphic arts, some of the demanding direct mail applications that are coming across these days. That's what Revolution 50 is about.
And I can't help think about because I mean, if you look at as you mentioned, the OEM partners on the printing side, I mean, I don't know how you see it, but I mean, I have been preaching for a long time that finally it seems that inkjet is on a speed and a quality and total cost of ownership and operational cost where it is really starting to become an alternative to at least some offset presses for some kind of applications.
Yeah.
And I take that must also require a lot of changes in the binding side, because now it's not just cut sheets, as you mentioned. It is, as you know, we visited Rotomail in Italy, filming the Libre 800, where you make like really like high class book binding out
Yeah.
of two
Yeah.
rolls of paper, basically, right? Is that also
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
demand that you see starting in the US?
Uh, we are, yeah, I think so. I mean, certainly, you get more and more publishers moving to a digital environment out of offset, and the demand is high on book applications and being able to handle that kind of thing. We're really hoping to expand more. What you saw at Rotomail was our Libre 800 line, which is a really cool. I mean, if you if
High volume
sometimes
product, right?
sometimes watching our equipment can be like watching grass grow,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But to be honest, but with Libre 800, it's a fun system to watch, just to see those books being made and the system sort of grabbing a book block and perfect binding it, etc. So Rotomail is a cool customer setting, and we're looking forward to kind of expanding that more here in the U.S. We haven't had Libre 800 greatly demanded here in the U.S. We've got a couple of opportunities we're working right now and hoping to get that out there more.
I'm sure you will. So before today, we're also going to see each other at Printing United, right? And
Yes.
I mean, a lot of people are really anticipating Printing United as one of the really big shows coming back on in America. So you have
Yeah.
equipment on the show floor, and what can people expect from Printing United from a Tecnau perspective?
Yeah, we're looking forward to Printing United a lot. It's going to be our first Printing United because, of course, unless you count the virtual one back in 2020 that we did,
We don't.
because yeah, 2019. Of course, there was a great Printing United in 2019, but at that point, we weren't quite ready to jump into the, what was at that time a new show.
Yeah.
So a couple of us went and visited the show just to get a feel for it and decide, yeah, this is somewhere we need to be. So we planned to be there in 2020, and then the world changed, of course. So we're looking forward to it this year. Going to Las Vegas, we've got some good stuff there. We're going to have a Revolution 50 line there with our 30-inch stacker, so we'll be able to stack some long applications. We're going to have sample rolls from our major printer partners to run during the show, so that'll be nice. You can see some output It's funny, you can see output in our booth, kind of being processed, where you can't actually see it in most of the partner booths because there aren't too many digital inkjet presses that'll be at the show.
No. Okay.
Just because it's challenging, of course,
so
to set those up.
so they would just send everybody who wants to see print they just send them to your booth, basically.
Exactly. We'd be happy to show them some samples being run live, not printed live, but run live. So that's one thing we'll have on our booth is a Revolution 50 line. We're also going to have another system that I'm excited about. I've kind of had some of my focus here at the company. I deal with the whole product line, but some of my focus has been on the cut sheet side, and we've got solutions for sheet fed presses as well. And we're going to have our Stack 1212 system there, which is a system to handle
yeah.
B2 sheets.
Oh, B2.
Yeah, so the B2 sheets, there's a number, of course, of a B2 inkjet, and I shouldn't just say inkjet because, of course, HP's Indigos, 12,000, 100K, 15K family certainly are producing
And the new Ricoh Z75 is probably also starting.
Yes,
to
exactly. We've been talking to Ricoh about the Z75 as well. So we're going to be processing some B2 sheets with our Stack 1212. It's a system I'm excited about because I think it kind of meets a need that's there in the marketplace. There's some other equipment out there that either it's on the lower end, of course, where it's not really meant for a production environment, somebody running a lot of stuff. And then there's very high-end stuff that's very expensive and does a great job, and does it automatically, but is very expensive. So Stack 1212 kind of fits in as a production solution that fits in a smaller footprint and is not on that real top end of the price range. So we think it'll be a.
Yeah. So would you say that you have identified a sweet spot between the two things that you just spoke about? Productivity,
yeah, exactly.
Pricing. Okay. And,
exactly, we think so.
And what is? I mean, I know what Stack 1212 is, but is it like? Is it basically for? It's both for of course cut products, the trim product, but it's also for like bookbinding in if you want to have like book blocks that is utilized directly from a machine, right?
Right. You could certainly. We think that would be one market for sure. Is creating book blocks that can then be taken to an offline binding, nearline binding system. We also anticipate that postcards are going to be a big application for this. I don't know what it's like in Europe, but here in the United States, I get postcards in my mailbox. Seems like I get 3 or 4 every day. Advertising the latest gym membership or a real estate agent trying to sell a house. We get these postcards all the time, and so there's obviously a lot of that production going on for direct mailers and commercial printers. So we think that's going to be a big marketplace for it, and so to really play in that environment, we're also talking to coder manufacturers and thinking about how we might integrate this product with coders, so you can have your stuff produced on the press and then bring it to an offline system, run it through a coder, and then into our cut stack, so you end up with the stack of cut postcards ready to go in the mail, cut and coded postcards. So kind of cool.
And it's funny you mentioned that, because I did some interviews, I can't even remember right now where it was, but it was some direct mail companies in the US recently, and they said actually because the postage and because people want to save money, that postcards is basically really replacing a lot of the envelope products. So it probably makes a lot of sense that you are
absolutely. And of course these days it's harder and harder. A lot of folks are having trouble finding envelopes. When I get one of my billing statements from somebody I've been dealing with a long time in the mail, and it's in a brown craft envelope, and I'm thinking, geez, I've never seen these guys with this kind of envelope before. And then I'm thinking, oh, I know why they've got this kind of envelope. They're just looking for whatever they can find.
No.
So postcards kind of solve that need.
It's because it looks more environmental friendly. You know that, Scott.
Well, that could be too.
Fantastic. So what do you have planned for us today here at the finishing line?
So today I kind of just wanted to walk through a quick overview of we've got a couple of sort of fairly recent developments, one very recent development on the company, us doing business side of things. And then kind of walk you through today. Of course, we're focusing on our sheet fed side, as I kind of mentioned earlier, kind of personally having some of that focus, but that's what our focus is going to be here with you today. And a quick overview of our products for our sheet fed environment, both for the B2 as well as the B3 world.
Nice.
And of course, B3 has been a focus of the manufacturers for a while, and we've got products for that, and as well as B2. And I'd also like to, though I'm excited today, to unveil for the audience, whoever happens to be listening now and or in the future as they watch a recording, we're going to be showing a product this morning that we're about to issue a press release on, announcing its availability. So kind of exciting. The audience here will get a first look at something that we think will play well in that publishing environment, especially as we talk about it. So we think it's a product that might have some application, some appropriateness beyond publishing, but really we think publishing could be the best match. So that's what we're going to talk about a little bit this morning.
But it sounds like that you have prepped something where you basically give the teaser, so people have to see you doing the thing that you know about, and then they have to wait to the end to see something that is really new, right?
Exactly. Well, so I wanted to kind of do it that way. I didn't want to lead with the most exciting thing. Both kind of keep people engaged, but also because it's based on a couple of established products that I wanted to kind of get in first, so I kind of lay the groundwork. All right, this is where we're coming from. It is a new product, but it's not totally new technology. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. Something with enhanced capability, but on a firm foundation. So you're not maybe worrying about getting something that we're still working a ton of kinks out on when it goes out there, because it is based on some established technology. So we think it'll be a solid product.
That's okay, Scott. Don't worry. So you want to start with sharing your screen and run through it?
Yeah, I'll do that. Let's see if I can call this up here.
Mm-hmm. So I will see it here the moment you get it, so I can give you the full screen and yourself.
That's always tricky here with the difference. Let me see if I can. Let me cancel this. Let's try this a different way. Not that. Here we go.
But you look great for an early morning to be. I must say that.
Yeah, this is not my usual hour to get up, I will admit. So you got me up earlier today, Morten.
I got home from Chicago Friday, so I have no times that are for me right now.
There we go.
Right, I see it now.
Can you see my screen, hopefully?
Yeah, and I have you on screen and put you in the thumbnail, so you should be able to.
Okay, sounds good. Okay. All right, let me start the slideshow.
Do you want the thumbnail of yourself, or does that influence the presentation?
I'm fine either way. Whatever you think is best, Morten. I'll go with it. Okay. So.
But I will mute myself, and then I will listen, and then we can continue our chat when you're finished.
Yeah, and please, jump in at any point as I go through this. It's better if it's more fun if it's interactive. So. Okay,
but we can do it interactive if you want to. So I can just. I just see if I can figure out how to do this. That was not the right one here. It's always like, how can you? Okay, here we are.
Right,
take it away, my friend.
All right, all right, sounds good. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on some of these slides. This is Tecnau. For those of you who don't know us, we've been around for a long time, 35 plus years. We've got manufacturing and engineering in Europe, both in Italy and Sweden, as well in the United States. And we cover the complete gamut of digital printing applications: commercial print, direct mail, publishing. Transactional certainly was where our foundation was, but we've moved well beyond that. So that's a really brief overview of us. I wanted to kind of spend a little bit more time just kind of saying, come visit us. Here's our early in COVID, we opened up our new demo center in Ivrea, Italy, northern Italy, kind of not far away from Turin and from Milan. And as you can see there, we did a lot of demos there last year. That's last year's stat. I don't have one for this year, but I think it's basically continued along this year. We've got a broad, gamut of our equipment there. Certainly the Revolution 50 line. We've got a couple of those. One of them with our Stream Folder, which is a plow folding device, kind of with great applicability for the book market. We've got our zero-speed splicer Roll 40, which is a splicing unwinder and rewinder system. Really cool to see. As I said, a lot of our equipment is like watching grass grow. The splicer is another fun one to watch. We've got the Stack 1212, which is what I just was mentioning. That is going to be one of the highlights of our Printing United exhibition. We've got the Libre 800 that we talked about at Rotomail, and more. So we've got a lot of demo area there, and it's a great opportunity to see some demos both live as well as virtual. And the exciting kind of news, this is other news that I'm kind of passing your way, although it's maybe a little bit less exciting for most folks than a product introduction. But just as of Wednesday of last week, Tecnau US has moved to a new headquarters, so kind of personally exciting for me anyway. And we moved to another space outside of Boston, in North Andover, Massachusetts. We've got a lot of demo space there as well. So that's really, for me, that's the exciting thing. For me as a marketing guy here, is we've got the ability now to do demos. So I went by last week and snapped some quick pictures. As you can see, the photo on the right is our new experience center, our new demo center. Now, as you can see, there's not a lot of equipment in there right now. That's because literally, again, we are just moving in. We just our first day in the new office was Wednesday of last week, but we'll be setting up multiple equipment lines there in our experience center, and showing folks kind of some of the latest and greatest of our equipment, and looking forward to doing a lot of demos there and making it kind of a better space than frankly we had in our past building for demoing equipment. So that's kind of a little quick overview of who we are and some of the things we're doing. Stack 1212 is where I wanted to start, kind of giving a very quick overview. Again, this is the system we'll be showing at Printing United as a solution for B2 sheets. So the actual spec is it's a little bit larger than B2 size, because of course a lot of folks want to do B2 plus some trim. So we can do up to a 21 by 29.5 inch size sheet, or 533 millimeters by 750 millimeters for the European audience. We can cut down to a output size of about 127 by 102 millimeters. So kind of a postcard size or so. A small postcard is really what typically you might think of as the smallest end that we go to. So we handle impositions. If you kind of do the math and divide up a sheet, that means we can do up to a 21 up imposition, 3 by 7. We handle basis weights up to 350 GSM. And it's a nice system for again handling B2 sheets in a good size footprint, and with the I kind of refer to this as using right size technology. We don't do automated job changes from one to another. We used to have a system that did that was kind of initially aimed at the Indigo 7000 family, and one thing we found was but a lot of folks were shut away from using it because the cost was pretty high for that automation. And so what we've done here is we've put some automation in, but we also do rely on operators, and it is operators, to do some job changeover work. So we've got a couple of cross-cutting cartridges. Those pretty much stay in place most of the time. If you're moving to non-bleed applications, then you do need to make a quick change there. It's literally a 1 or 2 minute change. And then the one thing you might need to do more often is change this trimming cartridge in the lower right hand corner here,
so
as you
Scott,
see in yellow.
So when you talk about the cartridge, that is the knife that goes on the length direction, right?
Yeah, exactly. So those top two cartridges kind of go across the paper path. So what we do is like for a B2 sheet of 533 by 750, the max size, it'd be a 530 millimeter leading edge. Excuse me. We cut across that dimension with the cutting cartridges, and then we trim off the sides and put gutters in, along the length, along the 750 millimeter dimension, with this trimming cartridge in the lower section here. Okay. So when you need to move from one job to another, you might need to change some of these cartridges. You might not, depending on what the job change is. But if you do, it's a very quick and easy change. So this is kind of what we talk about as right size automation. We could automate that stuff totally as well, but it would add considerable cost.
Just one more question. So that, when you look at the PowerPoint, it seems that there's like 3 cartridges. Does that mean that you can basically bypass one of them, or do you have to take them out in order to if you don't want to utilize that particular trim?
So yeah, if for instance, if you have a cartridge in there that's putting in gutters, and then you want to move to some kind of large poster application where you don't need any gutters, potentially, then you would need to swap out that cartridge. Okay. If you're moving from forgive me for using U.S. imperial measurements here. If you're moving from like a 6 by 4 inch postcard to a 6 by 9 inch postcard, a couple of popular sizes here in the U.S., that's a change that wouldn't even require any cartridge change. So you are changing sizes, but you're really just changing the cut length. And for that, you don't need to change any cartridge. You just need to go on the user screen and pick a new job. So some changes don't even require the change. But just here's one of the big things to focus on with this product. So if you come away with a couple of takeaways about Stack 1212, here's one of them. that it's a very small footprint. Some of the other products out there in the marketplace have quite a large footprint. The Stack 1212, its total footprint is under 10 square meters, so it's not that big. Fits in a shop much more easily than some of the other equipment out there. So that's one takeaway. Here's just a quick overview. I'm kind of going on a little too quickly there. My screen
yeah, it
is.
happens.
Yeah. Hang on. Now I'm going all crazy here. There we go. That's just a quick example of a small postcard application. So it's something like an A5 application, or excuse me, A6. It's about an A6 size. Or here in the U.S. again, a 4x6 postcard. That's how we'd impose it. But here's, I wanted to kind of summarize the product a little bit here. It's a lower cost option out there. So that's, again, a big takeaway. So this is something that we try to, again, put the right amount of technology in to be able to get this into more shops and really do the job for customers who wouldn't be able to spend the money on a full-blown, totally automated, operator never needs to do anything but unload on the back end. Here we do rely on the operator to do certain tasks, which again makes it a more cost-effective solution. Again, it's got a small footprint, it's got an integrated stacker. One of the things our products is common for our products is we got a very user-friendly interface. We've been told that a number of times with a number of our products, including our Revolution 50 line as well that we were talking about earlier for a web-fed environment. So it's a very easy operator interface. It's a straight line system. It has very good tight cutting tolerance, as mentioned there. It supports an offline environment. And the other one thing I don't have on here, but I do want to mention, is this, as well as all the products I'm going to be talking about today, especially applicable on the sheet fed side, where sometimes customers might have systems that really aren't meant for a production environment. They're doing smaller volumes, and with our products, though, if you're operating in a production environment, for instance, here with the Stack 1212, you're putting through a lot of B2 sheets every month. That's what our products are meant for. That's what Stack 1212 is meant for. It likes a heavy workload. As I mentioned, a lot of this technology is based on our continuous web technology, like the Revolution 50, where obviously you're producing millions and millions of feet. So to come over to a sheet-fed environment, we have that similarly robust technology that'll operate in a big production environment. This is one of our early users here of the Stack 1212 Sidekicks in the Netherlands. They're a Dutch direct mailer. They got the Stack 1212 to process output from a KM1 from Konica Minolta. They handle 1 up to 12 up impositions. And we got a nice friendly quote there from the co-owner of the company talking about what a great achievement it's been and what a great job it's been for them. So kind of a nice story there.
That's easy selling stuff when you have your customers doing your work, Scott.
Absolutely. And of course, we get a little more credibility. They've got a little more credibility than I do for some reason. So, yes. And then that of course was a B2 solution. Here's kind of the little brother to the Stack 1212, the Stack 1010. Same basic job. Takes those large sheets and breaks them down into a final page size. So in this case, the large sheets are smaller than a B2. It's the B3 size that, or in the US, about 14 by 20, 13 by 19. So again, we'll take those large sheets and break them down into postcards or books and letters, etc. It's got that quick changeover functionality. We also, though, do something we didn't talk about in the B2 world. On the B3 world, we have a dynamic perf and punch capability. So here's our TC1530 dynamic perforator. Main thing to focus on here is in the lower right-hand corner. That's the kind of things we can do. It's bidirectional perfing, and we can, from page to page, change that perf pattern. Each page within a job we can move from one to the next with a totally different, or shut the perf off for a number of pages. So all in response to a 2D data matrix that's put on the sheet. We've also got capability on that unit to do creasing and scoring. So here we can put a crease or a score in there for whatever application you might want to do that with. So that kind of expands, especially certainly in a transactional environment. A lot of these play in a transactional environment. The great solution there, as well as, for instance, tear out workbook applications, so a publishing environment as well, or implants. Another feature again is dynamic punching. So we've got, and here is where I really like to focus on. This is a production solution. There's obviously other products out there that do hole punching, but if you do large volumes and you're looking for a really more automated solution that doesn't involve an operator kind of taking a stack and sticking it through, putting it through a drill, here's a nice environment to really, in a production way, produce calendar applications, workbook applications, etc. So this is that's part of our 1530 family. A couple of quick user stories here. Rubettino, a publisher and commercial printer in Italy, of course, where our headquarters is. A nice quote there from Marco Rubettino. They do kind of unique stuff. They do carbonless. They do kind of these tear-off booklets with carbonless paper, and they've used the 1530 to put the perfs in on that. 3MA Group is another customer, this one in France, and they work with the Xerox Brenva, so we have solutions to go inline with both Xerox Brenva and Baltoro, as well as the Canon I series and of course the newer IX. So and these guys particularly do school reports, kind of little fancier school reports than I used to get here in the U.S. But they put perfs in both directions again on the school reports, and it's allowed them to automate their operation and get some good volume out. And even, of course, one of our tagline is empowering digital print. A lot of times some of our products make it possible for customers to do things that they really couldn't do at least in an efficient way before. And I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the product that kind of was one of the first products I focused on when I joined Tecnau, or at that time Roll Systems, many years ago. That's our sheet feeder. We've produced over 750 sheet feeders over the years for sheet-fed digital presses. So where it's basically a roll feed system. Of course, you kind of counterintuitive. Why would you need a roll feed on a cut sheet printer, or how even can you do a roll feed on a cut sheet printer? But what it is, of course, is unwinder into a cutter, and then the cutter feeds sheets on demand to the press. It creates real savings on paper, especially if you're doing non-commodity papers. I've got a customer example here coming up next, where it talks about how these guys have used it in a book environment to really save a lot of money on paper, and as well as make your people more efficient too, because now one operator can run 4 more roll-fed printers. It's basically like putting a 50,000 sheet tray at the front end of your sheet-fed printer, because it'll run for hours and hours out of that roll before you need to change the roll.
Scott,
So
that was the one that we saw in the Spring Forward last year with in the Xerox setup, wasn't it?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's right, Morton. Yeah, exactly. We've got a sheet feeder on their Baltoro printer in
Precisely.
the
Yeah.
Gil Hatch Center here in the U.S. Yeah, and they showed we showed the sheet feeder at the front end of that press. So, yeah, pretty exciting. And here you can kind of see where it really makes sense. These guys, this is a U.S. customer in Phoenix, Arizona, who's got the VarioPrint 6250 and 6270, and they got the sheet feeder on the front end of it. And they're doing these odd-size sheets because they want to produce book pages with some trim, so they can do a 3-knife trim and end up with a finished 6x9 book. That, of course, entails a larger sheet size that's not a normal sheet size, and they'd pay a fortune if they had to get these sheets produced for them. Either they'd pay a fortune or they'd have to spend a lot of time on their own cutting them down. But in this case, they put these sheet feeders on. And
Would they typically be a customer where you could imagine that they have some kind of cut stacker at the other end of the machine, or?
Many times they'll just, they won't have the automation on the back end. Sometimes they might have a booklet maker or some other, more automated system. But most of the time they'll just be running output to the press stackers.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah. But they'll get that savings on the front end and kind of make it so operators don't need to spend as much time loading and save money in paper.
Sure.
But this takes us to our exciting news, Morten. So
Can't wait.
this is book ready. So this is our new product, and it is based on. I wanted to go through the stuff we just went through because the book ready is based on our Stack 1010. So it's basically taking some of that technology and doing some other things with it, so that it, and frankly, I've kind of made a case for right-sized automation. We kind of took a look and said, all right, in a monochrome environment, where the trimming, the demands on the finishing, in a monochrome environment, of course, the Variprint 6000 Ultra family or Variprint 6000 Titan are monochrome printers, and some of the demands on finishing can be a little bit less because, of course, typically in a monochrome world, you're not doing bleed print. Right, so some of the needs to trim off the edges, so that you end up with the final result is indeed a bleed printed sheet. The demands for that kind of thing in a monochrome environment are less. So we kind of took a look at it and said, for a book publisher who wants to be able to really, in an automated way, go from application to application, we can kind of give right-sized automation, which would allow them to move from one application to another without the operator touching it. So here, in that kind of environment, in a monochrome environment with book applications, we thought, we can really make this into something that would allow for a fully automated operation. In this case, behind the Variprint 6000 Titan, but certainly we're looking at doing that in other with other press manufacturers as well. So here's some of the quick changes from the Stack 1010. We've got a motorized alignment table. And we're going to show this in a video, so folks can kind of see this in operation. But just a quick summary: we've got a motorized alignment table, so we can change that input sheet size automatically. In the Stack 1010 world, you need to make a little adjustment there, but here you don't need to. We've got we'll develop interfaces with any presses that we're going in line with, so that of course doesn't help you entirely if you have all this automated technology, but then meanwhile you have to tell the unit what job you're doing. Here we'll obviously develop that software interface with the printer, to be able to get the job information to tell the system what sized input sheet we've got and where we need to put the cuts in it. So again, that single crosscut activation via the software interface. The central knife. So again, typically we don't need to do gutters, of course, in a monochrome world, because we're not again trying to create that bleed print. So with that central slit, we're able to basically think of a scissors, a pair of scissors where you're kind of you can pull the two blades apart. And of course, if there's two blades there that aren't doing that sort of scissoring action, then they're not cutting into the sheet. So we can just pull those two blades, top and bottom, above and below the sheet, and pull them apart so we're not cutting it if that's what the job calls for, or of course engage them together when we do need to put in that central slit. And then of course the stacker adjusts to the different lengths as well. It's got a compact layout, so compared to the Stack 1010, it's got a little bit shorter footprint, which is another thing we kind of aimed at. Here you can see the whole thing can be fit in 3.1 meters. Here's some of the applications. So just taking an A4 sheet and now an A4 sheet short edge feed, where we're running the sheet in and just putting that single cross cut. Of course, the more effective way to run an A4 sheet is with the long edge feed. And here we'll take a center slit and make that divide that sheet in half. If of course we can we can divide that sheet in half, and now we're creating a book of 2. So on the top scenario, we're creating a single copy book, as many of our customers need the technology to handle. With the scenario 2, where we're doing the more press efficient long edge feed, we do need to create a book of 2, but there's going to be a little bit more on that I'll talk about in a minute. Here we're kind of taking larger sheets, A3s, and dividing them up into various fashions to again create larger or smaller books. We have just come up with, as we're just about to introduce this product, we've just come out with an added rotator module. So we're going back to that scenario 2, where we had to create the book of 2. We've added a rotator module in, where we take that sheet, we rotate it, and now we can, you can run it through the press in the effective long edge feed, rotate it, so we're basically now able to put a center cut across the paper path, and now you can get down to that book of 1, which is the key factor here for the rotator, is that you can make for the A4, or in the US, a letter size, 8.5 by 11, 9 by 12, you can divide it in half and get that book of 1, which is...
Just a question, Scott, because when you talk about the long edge and the short edge feeding, does that give any issues in relation to grain direction, or is it more like a decision you make from a printer's perspective?
Of course, with the rotator, Morten, the beauty here is that you can deal with the grain direction either way. So so it does kind of help in that grain direction issue.
So
help
that
you
basically
process.
Means that when you order your paper in sheet, you basically just order with the grain direction according to what binding you want to utilize them.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. You choose your width of your roll, the width of the sheet. Run the width of the sheet, in whatever way you want to run it. You get the appropriate grain direction, and then we can adjust the way you process that sheet most effectively.
Perfect.
So if I think you've got the video.
I got the video. Yeah. So
there.
Let's do it.
All right. Sounds good. Yeah, so that's book ready, and
as
as I say, we're kind of excited. We think it'll be a great solution for book customers running large volumes with the VaroPrint 6000 Ultra family, or with other, possibly in the future with other sheet-fed presses as well. So,
as I said to you just when we were running the video, it was amazing to see the turning station, because basically you have the same speed as the machine operates at, and then you can have substrates that have very thin paper and very thick paper, and it just turned without damaging the paper. That's
right,
pretty amazing.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, and I'll say that certainly running at speed, as I mentioned there briefly, is something, we get asked a lot of time with our sheet feeder product on the front end of the press, as well as with the per or the cut and stack on the back end. All of these products run at the same speed as the press.
Yeah.
So if you put any of this stuff on a sheet fed press and you're wondering, well, is that going to slow things down? Am I need to operate at a slower speed? Is my productivity going to go down? No, your productivity is not going to go down. It's going to run just as fast as it did before. So.
All right. I think that was good news for those watching, and I'm sure you will get the message out to all the media and to all your customers. And
absolutely. I think you'll be seeing a press release come your way here in the next couple of days, Morten, where is getting something ready for you.
Fantastic. Scott, I think it's a great walkthrough of the products you show. Can I ask you a question, just because I was a little bit curious here? So if you
Sure.
look at how you see the market as being in the US, would you say that are you I don't know how to phrase it in a way that doesn't sound wrong, but I just phrase it and just don't misunderstand.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, I was just wondering, do you drive the market, or are you driven by the market?
Well, that's a good question, Morten. I mean, what we like to do, if things are working right for us, we're dealing with the press operators, or the press vendors.
Yeah.
And we are kind of relying on those guys to a lot of our development is driven by what they're making possible, to be honest. So if they're running at higher speeds, is they're sort of being able to run heavier papers. Some of the presses are now looking to go beyond 300 GSM, up to 350 GSM, or even 400 GSM, as they're enabling those kind of papers and the kind of applications that run on those papers. Hopefully we're working hand in glove with those guys. So as they're coming out with that press technology, we're coming out with the corresponding finishing technology that'll allow customers to take full advantage of what that press is enabling.
Okay, so let me ask you in a different way. It's because, if you look at okay, let me tell you a little story, a very short one, I promise you.
Sure. Okay.
I was before I got into the industry, and I saw, for example, the Scodex embellishment machines and all this wonderful digital thing. I thought it was kind of funny, because all of them were just replicating good old analog technologies that you could do in any other way, right? And it's kind of similar to when you look at the digital binding space, right? So I was just wondering, sometimes, do you also think there's room for innovating totally new ways of doing binding? If you look at some of the old Japanese binding, French binding, where you have all those kind of things, is that something that is also on the agenda when we talk the big finishing companies?
Yes, certainly, and binding is a good way to answer that question. Of course, a lot of our technology, plays in different environments where we're not really doing binding, in a direct mail environment or a transactional world. But of course, when we are looking at binding for publishers or commercial printers that are getting into publishing or booklet application, binding, of course, comes into it. And the Libre 800 is a good example of a system that's really been developed not to just churn out the latest Harry Potter book, where there's going to be millions and millions and millions of these books produced, because frankly, you wouldn't use Libre 800 to do that kind of thing. It would be more appropriate.
Yeah, there are vendors that have specialized in larger runs, basically. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So, but the nice thing about Libre 800, for instance, and really it is special to a digital world, is it allows you to produce book of one, single copy books. We've got a customer who their average run of books is 1.7 copies. So
I'm wondering what the point
that's
7
a different
is.
world, right?
I'm wondering what the point 7 is. Maybe that's
well, I don't know what the 0.7 is. I don't know. You're a funny customer if you want 0.7 of a book, I guess, right? But yeah, it's operating that kind of world where you're running very small volumes, and you need a special system to do that. And that's not the kind of system that operates, as I say, to produce the latest Harry Potter book. And so Libre 800 is an example of something that's really been developed for some of the, what's been enabled by the presses, the presses that can run, a book at a time. And okay, you can run a book at a time, but if you're looking for your finishing equipment to be a finishing line that's appropriate for Harry Potter, well then you're not doing so well. But Libre 800 is really meant to be able to operate in that very small, short run, single copy book environment. And some of our other equipment kind of operates in that avenue as well.
And it's kind of funny that you say this because just a few weeks ago I was with a German printing company, Saxo Print, which is like a huge online printer here, and they seem to have still a very dedicated philosophy on using offset presses. They have some HP equipment as well, but the funny thing was that you think of the offset presses as kind of, I wouldn't say old school because they are not, but I would say that if everybody was running for print of one, you have to cope with the speed of whatever digital equipment you can.
Right.
But if you look at it, I mean, they had like 20 offset presses, right? And they have automatic blade change, and basically, you look at it, they probably run about 36,000 A4 pages an hour. The reason why I'm saying this is just because when you go back to your R&D now, you just tell them, okay, make some digital equipment that can bind 36,000 sheets an hour into something that's finished. Because I mean, basically, we talk about the digital transformation going from offset to digital, but I mean, there's still a huge gap what is possible both on the OEM side and on the binding side, right? So there is probably room for even more in the future, right?
Yeah, no, I'm sure you're right.
Just a little anecdote, but I just think it was fun because, I think, in my opinion, a lot of, of course, different because you have served the transactional and transpromo market for years, but if you look at, I think a lot of the, let's say, the smaller toner-based printers, they have probably not been used very much for variable data. They've probably just been used for short runs, right? So, well, that was that was just like my little 5 cents here. Sorry to
No, that's all right.
Okay. Scott,
that's all right. Appreciate your perspective.
Scott, I think it's been a wonderful presentation. I really appreciate your time here, and just want to say thank you for getting up early, and thank you for participating here.
Happy to do it.
Finishing line. And tomorrow, I have the pleasure of your colleagues on Commercial Web.
Right, exactly. I wanted to make sure people were aware of that. Exactly, Morten. That tomorrow, our folks going to be on with you as well, and we'll be talking about the website, talking about Revolution 50 and some of our other products on the web environment. So yeah, folks should definitely check that out as well. And I just wanted folks also to be aware. We've talked about Printing United, of course. We've got a number of shows that are happening in Europe here the next couple of days as well. So I just want folks to know that they can see us. For instance, Canon. We've got the Canon Make It show in Poing that's going on right now, and we're there with the Revolution 50 line. We're going to be next week at Horizon in Germany.
I will be there too.
At the German office with a. Okay, well there you go. So you'll see us there as well, Morten, with a stack line that's connected to a pick and place robot. So some cool technology being shown there. We're going to be at the Zycon Cafe in Belgium in early October, as well as, of course, the Printing United show. So folks should lots of places to see us and catch up with us.
So one question in that relation: do you have like a show department that never works but just participate in shows, or?
Yeah, well, the show department has to do a lot of other things as well. You're looking at a large part of the show department right here, at least as far as the Americas go. And
Fantastic.
yes.
I look forward to see you soon, Scott. Thank you for your time and all the best. And thank you for the audience. And remember, it will be available on INKISH for later views, probably already at the end of the day. So
Very
stay
good.
tuned.
Thanks, Martin.
And see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye-bye.